All right, thank you so much for joining us. This is Canvas Advanced. My name is Herbert Serrano. I am the Instructional Technology Lead for CSUN. The agenda for today's Canvas Advanced workshop is the Undelete function. Then we'll do some advanced importing options, followed by peer reviews, creating an assignment that will have peer reviews. And I will also show you what it looks like on the student end. And then the last item will be question groups, creating quizzes that use question groups, as well as showing you what a quiz looks like that does have question groups in it. I'll go more into detail about the specifics as well, but we're going to go ahead and get started. And so now I am in the course that I've created specifically for this webinar, this Test 103 Canvas demo, and I'm going to show you how to undelete something. So the undelete function is in case you accidentally delete an item that you didn't mean to delete. That happens a lot. It's very easy to do. It's happened to me numerous times. And we often get questions asking us, how do I recover something I accidentally deleted because I was in X, Y, and Z? So I'm just going to go here into Files, and I am going to delete my sample template file. So I am deliberately deleting it. Here I get a message, oh no, I didn't mean to delete it. I'm panicking. So the way to recover that is I click on Home. And from Home, in the address bar, this is the course number. Oh, I am not sharing my screen. My apologies. Thank you. So I have accidentally deleted a file. And now I am in the home page. I've clicked on home for my course, my Test 103 Canvas demo course. And here in the address bar, this is the course ID. This is an internal number that Canvas assigns. This is not the section ID. But after this 5-digit string, I will add a slash, and then I will just type undelete. All one word. And when I type that, I get this mess. I'm taken to the restore screen. So here it says restore deleted items, and it has the information when the item was created and when it was last updated, or in this case, when it was deleted. So I'm going to click restore. Are you sure you want to restore sample H Serrano template? Yes. So I've now restored it, and that was a file. So when I come back to files, there is the file that I had accidentally deleted and that I've now restored. And it restores it with all the pertinent information. So it doesn't tell me, oh, this was deleted on this day and it was recovered on this other day. It's not that advanced. It just shows me when it was created. And this was the file that I restored. So if you ever accidentally delete something in Canvas, don't worry, you can restore this. That's something that's available to you as the teacher. All right, so now moving forward, I'm going to show you advanced importing options. And again, it just is the ability to choose what you are importing. Rather than importing a whole course, you could target what you want to import. The benefit to that is, say you've taught a previous course on a similar topic. So in my case, I've got a 101 course, a 102 course, and they've got different levels of activities and items in there. If I wanted to import something from my Canvas Basics workshop, I could just target that item and only import the items I want. So for this demonstration, I am going to import a welcome module that I've created in another course. So it's a related course. I just don't have it in this course. The modules I have here are files, virtual meetings, assignments, and discussions, but I want to reuse that welcome module. So I go down to the bottom, I click on settings, and again, this is available for any course in which you are a teacher. So I click on settings, and I'm going to select import course content from the far right. When I click on that, I'm taken to the common import content screen you may or may not be familiar with. And from here, the content type I will select is I'm going to copy a Canvas course. Okay, the course I want to import from is Test 103 Clean. That's where I have my welcome module. And after I type it in, it will populate. Depending on the number of courses you have access to, it may automatically display a list for you, but since I'm an admin, I have access to every course. It doesn't give me a list to choose from. I have to manually type it in. So I'm going to leave that option checked off. That's fine. But rather than clicking on all content, I'm going to click Select Specific Content. That's it. There's no difference until I click Import. When I click Import, the import has not started because I need to select the content. That's what I chose. So when I click on Select Content, I see a breakdown of what's available for me to import. Now, what I want to import is a module. There's my welcome module. And when I click that, all I have to do is select content. Now, I could also alternatively import specific assignments, import specific quizzes. I could import question banks if I like. More on question banks and question groups later. But now I'm just going to select content. Because, like I said, all I want to do is I just want to import that welcome module. So I'm going to click on Select Content. It'll queue the job. The amount of time it takes to process will depend on how much activity, how many people are using Canvas at any given moment, or not any given moment, but at the moment you're starting your import, as well as the amount of content you're importing. If you've previously imported a complete course and you have several files, lots of pages, lots of images, you'll know it takes a long time. All I did was import a very small welcome module, so it did it relatively quickly. So now I'm going to click on Home so I could see my modules. And there is my welcome module. Now, when you do import something after the fact, like I did now, I already had my course, I picked something else to add, it will appear at the very bottom. So that's one thing to note. So I'm just going to grab these two vertical columns of dots, and I'm going to drag it all the way to the top. And now there is my welcome module. So when I click on Student View, I see all the modules, and I see that welcome module I just created, and it imported everything. Welcome to Canvas Advanced. There's the information. And yep, that's everything I wanted in my welcome module, as well as the Zoom link, which I don't want to do right now. But that is that. So now I'm going to leave Student View, and we're going to move on with the agenda. Why is it doing this? Cancel. So now, moving on, we're going to move on to creating a peer review assessment, or assignment, I should say. So I'm going to click on Assignments, and I'm going to click here on Plus Assignment. Assignment name, I'm going to call this Sample Peer Review Assignment. Please submit your proposal. Once submitted, it will be assigned a peer reviewer, and you will get feedback from them. All right, so there's my description. I'm going to make this worth 25 points. I'll leave it in the assignments group. I'll display it as points. Submission type will be an online submission because I want the students to upload a file. And I want them to only upload Word documents. No, I cannot type. doc.docx. And I want Word and PDF. So that's .doc, .docx, .pdf. This is telling Canvas, all right, you're only going to be accepting these two formats. Plagiarism review, I'm not using a plagiarism review, but if I wanted to, I could. But I'm not going to complicate my life at the moment. This is not a group assignment, but it does require peer review. So I check that off. Now here I have a couple options. I could manually assign the peer reviews. In this particular course, I only have 3 students, so it would be very easy for me to assign the peer reviews. But I want to make my life easy, and I'm going to let Canvas assign the peer reviews. So reviews per user, I'm going to just do 1. Actually, I'll type 2. Okay. Now this is very important. Assign reviews. This means when it will assign the peer reviewers. And it even says here, must come after the due date. The reason for this is students will not be assigned a submission to review until they have submitted their own submission. It kind of makes sense when you say it out loud, but really it's because you can't be reviewing someone else's paper if you haven't done your paper already. So that's what this is saying. So I'm going to leave this blank because I'm going to set my due date shortly. And here, anonymity, this is, do you want the peer reviews to not have their names displayed? So I'm not going to check that off. So now I'm going to set my due date. I'm going to set my due date for today. And I'm just going to make it available today. All right, so now I'm going to click Save and Publish. So it's very similar to creating a basic file upload assignment. The only difference is that we did check off that peer review box. So now that I've created that assignment, I'm going to switch over. I'm going to switch browsers because I will be going into one of my student accounts. So I'm going to first go to this browser. And there's my Test 103 course. I'm going to click into it. Again, I am logged in as an actual student here. And here I'm going to click on Sample Peer Review Assignment. It appears on the side taskbar here, to do. So Sample Peer Review Assignment. I'm going to click Submit Assignment. And here's my peer reviews. I'm going to submit my assignment. This is all normal. This is what students normally see. And here it is. I've submitted the assignment. And here it tells me assigned peer reviews. None have been assigned yet. So as a student, I do not have a paper that I need to review yet. So I'll just wait. I communicated to my students that the peer reviews will be assigned after April 28th. So now I'm going to switch back to my other browser where I am the teacher because I want to show you a few things before I switch over to my second student account. Here we see 0 out of 1 submissions have been graded because my Herbert Test 3 account submitted the assignment. But I also have this button here, Peer Reviews. I'm going to go ahead and click into that now. And from here, I could see this would be a roster of all my students. And it's just a summary of what the peer reviews look like. Herbert Test 03, even though he submitted a paper, he has not been assigned any peer reviews yet. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch over to Herbert Test 01. That is in this browser. So here is Test 103. And again, I'm going to go to Sample Peer Review Assignment. And I'm going to click Submit Assignment. And here I'm going to click on File. And I'm going to select the Herbert Test 01 Peer Review Assignment. Now, again, this is exactly what your students see. Upload process is taking its time. There it goes. So here so even though the student submitted something, and we have Herbert Test 3, which also submitted something, these peer reviews have not been assigned yet. I wonder why that would be. Oh, I know what happened. When I built my assignment, I set the due date to be the same time that the peer reviews are assigned. So I've already submitted that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to move this due date to yesterday. I'll leave that the same, and I'll just set this to these dates. Now that I've changed this date, I'm going to go back to peer reviews. And it looks like it didn't automatically assign peer reviews. So I'm just going to force it to assign the peer reviews by clicking Assign Peer Reviews. So I click on that button, and after a couple seconds, we now see that Herbert Test 01 has been assigned this paper, this student's paper, and Herbert Test 03 has been assigned this one. There's an exclamation point here, and that exclamation point means, I forget what it means, but, oh, that it was submitted late. But that's because I arbitrarily changed the due date. And here we see that Herbert Test 02 does not have any peer reviews assigned yet. And that is because Herbert Test has not submitted any assignment. Had this student submitted something, they would have received one or the other. And so forth and so forth. So I'm going to switch back to one of my students. I'm going to go to Herbert Test 3. I'm going to reload this page, the sample peer review assignment. And now I see assigned peer reviews, Herbert Test 01. So this is the same page. Ignore the fact that it says late. But here we see assigned peer reviews, Herbert Test 01. When I click on that as the student, I get to see that I could click on it. As a peer reviewing student, you will only see comments written by you. So I have to click on the Word document, and it'll download it. Or I could just click on View Feedback, and it'll show up this like baby speed grader window. I'm going to make it full screen. And here I get to see what Herbert Test 01 submitted. There's these markup and annotation tools that are available to you as the teacher in SpeedGrader. I don't expect students to get to know these nuances, but I'm just demonstrating it to you. Great intro. Etc., etc. And now I'm going to leave the full screen. So now I've left that. When I close this, it has saved the submission, but I also have it available as a Word document. Most students will end up just downloading the Word document because they won't know what this actually means. And then great paper. You raise some excellent points. So when I click save, it has saved it. Here it says I did those feedback. Now I'm going to switch over to my Test 1 account. And now I see that the student has said, great paper, you raised some excellent point. This was the feedback that was given by my student, by my fellow peer student. And I'm going to go to Herbert Test 03, similar interface. Wow, really thought-provoking. I click save. But actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this student's paper, and I'm going to mark it up and annotate it in Word. Just so that you can see what it looks like on the other end. So here I'm going to use markup And I'm going to call this file save as. Wow, very good. All right, now I've saved it. I'm going to close it because, again, this is what most students do. And I'm going to attach the file. I'm going to browse. I click save. And again, it all depends on what you're specifically asking your students to provide in the feedback. So now, as Herbert Test 3 account, I see the initial comment that was left, as well as the attached file that O1 student uploaded. Now, closing the loop, we're going to come back to this teacher view. And here, not only do this exclamation point has changed to a check mark, this lets me know that, oh, these two students already gave the feedback. And I could click through to see what they said. Great paper, you raised some excellent points. Okay. And then when I click here, I get to see that, oh, wow, Herbert Test 1 gave one sentence for the feedback, but then actually marked up and annotated the file. So that's peer reviews in a nutshell. If you've used them before, you probably hadn't seen what it looks like on the back end. I'm able to show you this because I have actual student accounts, and that's what I was using to demonstrate it. The peer review function doesn't really work with student view because it's hard to kind of pair it up, and it's not part of the student roster. So that's peer reviews in a nutshell. Now moving on, I'm going to show you how to create a quiz or how to use a quiz with question groups. Question groups, as I click over to this, question groups are a great function because what they allow you to do is they allow you to group different types of questions. And not only that, you can use question groups so that Canvas will automatically and randomly pick questions from within that group. So here I've created this quiz called Sample Quiz with 2 question groups. So I'm going to click Edit to show you the back end of it first. So here's my quiz details. It's a graded quiz with 15 minutes time limit, and it was due last week. So let me change this. Okay. So when I click on questions, instead of having just random questions, these are the groups. Pick 5 questions, right? And I've named this true or false. Pick 5 questions, 1 point per question. And in here, I've got 9 different questions. Moving on, I've got a multiple choice question group. Pick 3 questions, 2 points per question. And then I'm going to delete this. So these are my 2 questions, my 2 question groups, and it's worth a total of 11 points. So the benefit to question groups is I could have I forget what the limit on questions that can be placed in a group are, but it makes it easy for me to mix and match different question types. It makes it easy for me to kind of set difficulty levels. The hardest part is setting up and configuring the question groups. So here, I'm going to just create a 3rd question group for essays to walk you through the process of creating them. So I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And as I'm scrolling, I want you to notice something about the specific questions. They're a box. Each box represents a single question, but it's a box within a box. this is how you could tell that a question is in a question group. So this was the true-false question group. This is the multiple choice question group. And again, a box within a box. That's how we know they're in a group. So here I'm going to create new question group, and I'm going to make this my essay question group. And I'm going to pick one question, and it's going to be worth 5 points per question. So let me see. Actually, I'm going to make it 9. 9 points per question. So I'm going to create group. Now I've made my group, and I immediately get this notice. This question group is set to pick more questions than are available. Well, obviously, because I don't have any questions in here. So to add a question, I'm going to just click on this plus symbol here. I want to create an essay question, right? Because this is the essay question group. Describe heat in 3 paragraphs. And I click update question. And now that exclamation point has gone away because there is one question and it satisfies the defined criteria for this question group. So I'm just going to create 2 more. What is the purpose of the U.S. Constitution? And describe photosynthesis. So I'm going to click update question, and now I've got 3 essay questions, 3 multiple choice questions, and 9 true-false questions. So my quiz is worth 20 points. I'm going to go ahead and click details. Or actually, I need to save my quiz. So I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to just preview the quiz I just took. So this is me as the teacher using the preview. And I get 1 true-false question, 2, 3, 4, 5 true-false questions. And now I've got my multiple choice questions, 1, 2, 3. And then I got 1 of the 3 essay questions. Describe heat in 3 paragraphs. So, okay, perfect. This looks good. But I realized that, oh, I only have 3 multiple choice questions. That doesn't really give much variety for the students that'll be taking the quiz, right? Because one of the benefits of using question groups is that in theory, every student that takes this quiz would get a fairly unique version of this quiz, right? So the more questions in a group, and then the number of questions that are being picked, you're introducing randomness, the more questions you have. So scrolling down to the multiple choice question, I only have 3 questions here. So that's not very random, right? All of these questions will be picked. So I'm just going to create 2 more questions. Multiple choice. What color is the common rose? It's going to make this red, green, blue, brown. Okay. So I've added 1 more question, multiple choice. I'm going to add a 5th question to introduce more variability. Which is a mammal? I can't spell. Why can't I spell? Mammal, huh? Whales, squids, trees, and last one, bees. All right, so I'm going to click save. Now we've introduced more variability. I'm going to click preview and I'm going to go down to the multiple choice questions. And here, kittens are to cats as kids are to Los Angeles Dodgers, and a ton of cotton weighs. Then we get the essay question. So okay, so it didn't shuffle the multiple choice questions for me, but when I do it as the student, then it will shuffle it. Let me just make sure that I saved it. Yeah, there it is. So now I'm going to switch browsers, and I'm going to go first to Herbert Test 3. So sample quiz with 2 question groups, that is no longer correct. And also I wouldn't include that there's question groups in it, right? Just call it exam or whatever you would normally call it. And I'm going to take the quiz. So these are the questions that I'm presented with. There's 9 questions, 20 points total. That's all being defined by the question group. Because you'll notice I didn't tell the questions when I created them how many points to be. This is another function of them being in a question group. The question group is saying each question that'll get picked from this group is going to be worth X number of points. So you see the 9-point question is the essay question. So going through, question 1, spiders have 7 legs, the sky is purple, the sun is cold, trees are animals. Let's answer this. So that is false. Sky is purple is false. Sun is cold. Wow, lots of false. Wow, all those were false. A ton of cotton. So now we're in the multiple choice. A ton of cotton weighs. That, and yeah, kittens are the cats as kids are to goats because we're talking about animals. And then to help us be free, USA. All right, so there is submit quiz. So it gets graded automatically, that, just like a standard true or false question. So that's normal. Now I'm going to switch over to my other student account. We'll take the quiz. And as soon as I take the quiz, we'll start seeing the questions that get picked out. So now it's a click on true. We had not seen that question. We did see this question before. We had not seen this. We did see that. And we did see that. Right, so now multiple choice. We do see this question again. Kittens are the cats as kids are to goats. Yep, that is true. What color is the common rose? Red. Los Angeles Dodgers play what professional sport? Baseball. And then here is a different essay question. So it did introduce some variability. The number of questions in my question groups is relatively small compared to the number of questions that are being asked. But the more number of questions you introduce, you're increasing that variability. So here I'm just going to type this. I click submit quiz, and it grades the questions that it can and assigns the points automatically. So that's the 11. And then there's the essay question that I need to grade. So I'm going to return to teacher view. We've got our quiz. Now let's say that we have a different quiz that we want to use. A set of questions that we created in a previous course. I'm going to create a new quiz here. And I'm going to call this sample quiz with questions bank. All right, graded is going to be 5 minutes. Oh, another thing that I want to point out, in the previous quiz, I didn't have this shuffle answers enabled. But if I do, that introduces more variability into the questions, because the answers, the available answers, will also get shuffled in addition to the questions themselves. So here, I'm going to just set this due date to today. And I'm going to click save. I'm going to click edit. And for the questions, I'm going to find I'm going to use the Find Questions option. So here, let me go back. So I'm going to click on Find Questions. And here are the already existing question groups that I've got. There's a true-false question set that I've got. I've got this question group that I've got. And it says the number of questions here already. So in this course here, Test 103 Canvas Demo, I've already got some questions in here. They're unfiled. So when I click on that, here, I just get several different questions. They're not organized in any sort of way, but I could start picking them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click this one, this one, this one. I know these are essays. This is a multiple choice, right? I haven't done any sort of organization at all. All right, so I've picked those questions. I scroll all the way down to the bottom, and I'm just going to click Add Questions. So now they're all dumped in. They're not in any sort of question group or anything, but they're all just questions worth 1 point each. So I'm going to create a new question group, and I'm just going to say pick 2 questions worth 1 point per question. Make this 2 points per question. I'm going to create group. Now what do? I've got my question group, but my questions aren't in there. Fortunately for us, we can drag questions into the group by using this handle here, the 2 vertical columns. I could drag and drop, or alternatively, I could just click on it and I could just move it and tell it to do it that way. But I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click them. And I could do a combination as well. I could have some items coming from the question group, or I could just have the question sitting outside, or a combination of both. So now I'm going to click Save and Publish. I'm going to return here, and my quiz is worth 6 points. And that's because I have these 2 questions that are not in the question group, but everyone will get these questions, and they're worth 1 point each. And then I'm going to have group here, and they're just going to get 2 random questions out of this group. So this quiz is now published. I'm going to demonstrate it once again. I go to quizzes. I'll take the quiz. So I get the chicken getting across the road. Then I get heat in 3 paragraphs. Both of these are essay questions. And then these are the randomly picked questions. Now switching over to the other student. Again, they see the same question. Why did the chicken cross the road? And describe heat in 3 paragraphs. But then the multiple choice questions are different. So now I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of the 2. And you'll see question 3 for this student is A is for apple. Question 4 is pick the number 4. Whereas here, this student got which is a mammal. But they both got the questions that were left out of the group, because those are not being picked at random. Those, I'm telling everybody has to get those. So that's how you could kind of mix and match it. It makes the quiz creation process a little easier. And once you've created these groups, then you could repurpose them by finding them through the question bank find questions function. So that wraps up question groups.